We will call the meeting to order. It is 7 o'clock. The first is our flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call.
Okay, can everybody hear me okay? Is this mic working? You got it back there? Okay. All right, Ms. Bollenbacher.
Here.
Mr. Chandler? Here. Ms. Compatello is online, I think.
Here.
Yes. Can you say here or?
I said here, yes. Can
I
you
don't
hear
think. She's trying. You can't hear her.
She unmuted herself, but.
me talking? Can you hear
Yeah, we
me?
can't hear you. I'm not sure why.
Um,
Is the computer volume turned up? Maybe that has to be turned up.
Oh, smart. That's awesome. There you go.
Let's try that.
can you hear me now?
There we go.
Hey,
That
better?
works. I thought I saw that. So good. Okay, good. Tell us here. Mr. Hoof? Here. Ms. Pakalnik?
Here.
Mr. Oliverio?
Here.
Mr. Radilla? Here. Mayor Perry?
Here.
Solicitor Corbel?
I'm here.
Engineer Keenan? Here. And myself, we have a quorum.
Great. All right, welcome to 2025. We start a new year. So let's get started with council meeting. Consent agenda, we have the minutes from last December 12th. We had the bill list from December 30th, 2024. We also have the sewer deduct meter refunds of $5,254.98. And also the bill list from today, January 9th. So all these were uploaded on the OneDrive for council to review. Need a motion to approve January 9th, 2025 consent agenda pending bill list approval by the borough president, manager, and treasurer. Mr. Ollenbacher, Mr. Radilla, any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. At this time, citizens may address the Borough Council on any issue appearing on today's agenda. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address the council. Comments on non-agenda items will be taken at the end of tonight's meeting. God bless you. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Council has the option to respond or not at the end of the address. The solicitors are assigned timekeeper. Please state your name and physical address for the record.
No.
Okay. If we have anybody online, just raise your hand. Seeing none. First is the president's report. The 2025 council committee assignments, we had just one minor change, and that is Mr. Hof is going to take over the Finance Administration Sustainability Committee that Ms. Perry ran for many, many years. And Mr. Hof has been on the committee for a year, so he's very confident in taking that over. So that will start. That's effective immediately. All the other committee structures stay essentially the same, just little movements of some people on those committees. Great, Miller's report.
So tonight it's going to be about public safety and public service.
Okay.
So we've had not a lot of bad weather in the last few years. And I'm noticing as I'm walking around that many sidewalks have not been cleared even from our previous snow. And especially on the routes that our children take to school. So I just want to remind everyone that not only do we have an ordinance that says we're supposed to remove our snow within 24 hours, as good citizens and people who care about our children and other neighbors who are trying to use the sidewalks, could we please stand up and get those walks shoveled and cleared? Thank you very much. That's it tonight.
I'd also like to add, if you have neighbors that are not able to do so, please help them and, be neighborly. So thank you.
Yeah, I can't remember a time where it's been worse than it seems right now.
Season's been out quite a bit, starting to note people, so.
The snow is day after day
Yeah.
after day, day and night. So if you've been out there, it was hard to keep up
Mhm.
with it. But it is.
But we have quite a few on the main roads for the kids that I don't think have been cleared at all.
Mhm.
And that's why I want to make a point of it to everyone tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, solicitors report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick announcement that we will hold an executive session following the meeting tonight to discuss real estate and personnel matters. That's the end of my report.
Great. Engineers report, Mr. Keenan.
All right, good evening. First item on the engineer's report is the Broadhead Sewer Project. The update is that the EPA is still currently reviewing all the final environmental documents. And legal counsel has been ironing out the details regarding the Marine Street easement. The property owner's attorney has reached out to us requesting a walking tour of the property before the property owner signs off on the easement. And right now, we're still waiting on some potential dates and times from them to make that happen. The next item is the Ewing Road. The Infrastructure Committee is still exploring options to address the road closure. Currently, we are coordinating with Gateway, who is familiar with the issue, on cost and strategies towards the best solution. Right now, we're waiting on a work authorization from them to do a alternatives analysis. Next item is the public stairs. These are the new stairwells that have been constructed in the borough. They are all finally open to the public now. And I'm currently working on the grant disbursement, which has been submitted to the ACED. That amount is for $200,000. And right now the last step is that the grant PM wants to have a final site meeting with some individuals to just view the completed work. But some other numbers worth noting at this time, we had estimated in the bond that this project was going to cost $700,000. The total cost was $639,265. We received $493,000 in grants, getting the total to the borough $146,265. Great. Moving on to the next item is the C20 sewer separation project coming up this year. Right now, we're moving forward with the Cycle 11 grow application, and we're going to have a meeting with Tim Prevost with Alcosan tomorrow to discuss that. Another thing worth noting is that the bid opening for the C20 sewer project is next Tuesday, the 14th.
Yeah, and so just for clarification, because this sounds a little strange that we're applying for a grant and we're already doing the bid opening next week. That's because we kind of cobbled together two projects. One was that GSI, the Green Infrastructure Project, which we have now been able to eliminate because we were able to make it entirely a separation project. We already have secured 1.66 million from in a grant award from Alcosan, and this is to apply for the additional work for this project. So the project is still going to move forward after the bid opening before we know how much additional money we're going to get on the grant. So just so that everybody is aware, that's why it feels like it's happening in a strange order.
And just to emphasize, this is moving this project, the green infrastructure, to Richmond Street instead of Oregon.
No
and
green infrastructure, but there's
Right, it's no great, it's all underground. Instead of the green infrastructure on Oregon and Montana and all those streets towards the upper portion of Crafton.
correct.
Thank you. Moving on to the next item is the storm sewer retention system that is located underneath the parking lot across the street from Crafton Elementary School. Again, this is something that we are wanting to look at in-house first. We want to do some personal inspections to see what the current state is and the condition of it. We were trying to do that while school's not in session, but unfortunately, due to the weather and some other issues, we weren't able to. So we're still looking for an ideal time to go ahead and do that. Next item is a ratified vote that was done via email at the end of last year regarding the Public Works Building Sewer Lateral Project. A. Morante was chosen to be the lowest bidder for this work. for the new Public Works building. That bid was $87,620, and the original estimate provided by Gateway was $104,000. That said, I'd like to call for a motion based on the recommendation of Gateway Engineers to approve Amarante as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for the sanitary sewer lateral for the new Public Works building in the amount of $87,620.
So moved.
Ms. Stoltenbacher,
Second.
Ms. Bucownis. Questions or discussions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 6-1.
Next item is the Station Street retaining wall. The engineering design work is ongoing. The latest update is the drilling contractor was on site yesterday to perform the borings that will be used in the design work. The last item is regarding the People's Gain mass work that was going on last year in the borough. The gas line main work has been completed and temporary restoration is in place. The next and final step is to do the final restoration work of the streets and sidewalks. That work is scheduled to begin early spring once the weather improves. And that concludes the engineer's report. No questions.
Are there any questions for the engineer? All right, thank you, Mr. Keenan. Manager's report.
Okay, thank you. First thing is the garbage recycling update. So far, it's been relatively good news. We have not heard any significant complaints yet. We've certainly had people who had their stuff out on the wrong days. We fully expected that not everybody got the message. We did have a small snafu this morning with school drop off because they had the truck going down the Orchard Way the exact same time that they were trying to unload children from school or to get people into school. And so there was, thanks to Lydia Herring gave me a message this morning. So we were already able to modify that route. So that route will not be going behind the school at that time at 8:30 in the morning when everybody is trying to get into school. So we won't have a horde of angry parents yelling at us. But other than that, so far that rollout has, for the most part, gone fairly well. We have not heard, in fact, we frankly have gotten less calls in the first 2 weeks from them than we used to get from Waste Management. And so that's good news. Now, next week is recycling week and we tended to get more calls on the recycling week. So we're anticipating probably a few more calls that week. And please, if anybody does have concerns, by all means, comment at the end of the meeting, let us know. But so far it's been going fairly smoothly. So knock on wood.
Can I make an additional
Hope I
comment?
didn't jump on that too soon, but.
No, that's all right.
Yeah.
One of the things that my husband has said he's impressed with is that Valley has been closing the tops on the cans.
Oh,
I noticed that this morning
Yes.
on mine too.
Yeah, Waste Management used to leave them open, and if you didn't get them right away and we had rain or something else, we had a mess.
great. I'll let them know.
All right.
I'm sure they'd like to hear that. Our route supervisor was actually out running a route himself today because a bunch of people called off sick. Go figure, on the coldest day of the year. So.
Does any of the public have any positive I
I
mean,
can tell you, I didn't get
Yeah,
my
and-
recycles out early enough. They circled around and picked them up for me.
Last week. Great.
anybody else? Yeah.
I had an issue this morning. They did not pick up my garbage, so I called. They were very great when I talked to them. They said they would come around and pick it up. However, they did not.
Oh, okay, that's good to know. I'll make sure we let them know.
Would they come tomorrow then to get hers? I feel
They might, but they should have,
tomorrow.
but they should have done it today if they said they were gonna do it today.
Okay.
But it might have been their route. Typically, the people who do swing, it's called a sweep truck, who comes and picks up stuff if stuff gets missed. The route supervisor, who's typically the one who can float around and do that, like I said, was doing another route today. So that might have been the issue. But at the end, I don't remember your address and I don't want you to say it in front of, but if you want to tell me at the end of the meeting so that I can, so that we have it. I think Mike might have it, but just so we know for sure, but thanks for letting us know.
Yeah, Cody.
Yep.
One of the things that I've noticed, so like my apartment building, we have like one giant dumpster, and one of the things that I've noticed that I kind of like is they don't, when they're lifting it up into the truck, they're in the middle of the night, they're not slamming it on the back of the truck and it makes a loud noise and echoes through the valley. It's actually been relatively quiet, so I haven't been getting woken up in the middle of the night by just a loud bang from the garbage truck, so it's been so far so good in my experience.
That might not be Valley. Apartment buildings that have more than 9 units are not in the program. So if you do, if you're in a larger apartment building, that was probably just the company doing something differently, or maybe your apartment complex went with a new vendor. Yeah. But thanks for the good news anyway. Okay, any other, okay. Okay, well, thank you all for that. The next thing on the agenda is the Trail Study Committee. We have, everybody has been contacted in the Trail Study Committee. The first meeting will be on the 27th of this month, and that will be occurring here. Sorry to steal your thunder, Pam, if you were gonna say that as well. Or you were just looking for yourself, okay. And then the next thing up is a right to know resolution. And this is resolution 2501, a resolution of the Crafton Borough Council revising the policy containing procedures for the request and review of public records pursuant to and in accordance with the Pennsylvania right to know law. Now, this is primarily to prevent the requests that we get from businesses and special interests across the state who will send postcards or mail asking for right to know requests. And they do this to make money for themselves. They basically go from municipality to municipality with these letters, they blanket the entire state. They blanket all 2,500 municipalities asking for information about what our bidders were, or, and they ask for very specific things, or they might be a special interest asking for union contracts or that kind of thing. So they're not going to our municipality. They're not really concerned about Crafton. They're basically just blanketing everybody for their own business purposes. So this clarifies the process to make it that if you want to file a right to know request in the borough, you have to do it in writing to a specific person, and that person is the borough manager. And I have to receive it and then once I receive it, I have 5 business days, or whoever the borough manager is has the 5 business days to respond. So it helps us prevent those sweeping ones that end up costing us a lot of time and money, responding to basically people that are just out to profit off of this law. Yes.
I was gonna say, for Steve, is this aligning us with the Pennsylvania code relative to right to know?
Yeah, so the other thing that we did with the revisions here, which were, they aren't extensive, but they are material, and we aligned our policies with some of the more recent court decisions that are interpreting the code. So it is in alignment with the code and with court decisions that have come out in the last several years that have altered, very, very minor alterations to the policy. So we've been doing this in a lot of our communities over the last year or so.
And just as an illustration of how much they can, like, right to know requests, depending on how they're answered, can cost. For example, we had a contractor last year that we denied service to, and in response to that, they filed a lawsuit, not against the borough, but against Borough Council themselves. So the people in Borough Council, and responding to that, just responding to their right to know requests has cost the borough the amount of a medium-sized or a small car, $27,877 just last year alone. We had to pay that in basically what is a retaliatory lawsuit by Osiris or Anthony Moscatello. So that was one. And then other sweeping, if we get sweeping requests, which we will probably not respond to in the same way that we have in the past, the sweeping requests we got from Cody Sheets, and it have cost the borough to date $41,077.27 because we did not ask them to narrow the scope. We just responded to the entire thing, trying to show that we were being as transparent as possible. We probably won't be doing that in the future. We'll ask for more specific requests, which is really what this is about. Right to know requests are about asking for if you have knowledge of a report or information that you're concerned about, that you ask for that specific request as opposed to kind of sweeping requests. So that's that isn't necessarily addressed by this right to know request, but just to show you how much right to know requests can cost the taxpayers of Crafton. I mean, that's together, we're talking close to $70,000. Are there any other questions about that?
Yeah, but so these updates wouldn't change that fact that if people request, if Cody Sheets or that company requests, we still have to comply, right?
Well, with Cody Sheets requests specific, Osiris, we responded exactly as we were legally required to.
Okay.
But he made 19 requests over the course of a period of time. With Cody Sheets, we would not have to, we even today, we did not have to reply the way we did. It was a very sweeping request, meaning they were asking for emails with any word. So we ended up providing 13,000 email, or no, we ended up with 9,000 emails.
That's like 13,000 pages.
So with 13,000 pages.
How do these changes affect those two requests, or do they not as a contract?
They don't, but I was just showing how much right to know requests can cost. We haven't calculated all the other right to know requests because they're smaller,
Okay.
but they cost $1,000 to $1,500 a piece, but I didn't calculate all those. But that's an additional, just showing how much right to know requests cost in general.
Will these revisions make it harder for a Crafton citizen to?
Only in the respect that they need to use a form that they get off our website or do it on our portal. It's not more difficult. It's not much different than what they're doing now. What it does do is for the people that are trying to blanket the entire state with requests, it makes it much more difficult for them.
Okay. Thank you.
Oftentimes when we see the requests that Jim's referencing, that is the ones that go to every municipality in Allegheny County, for example. All of our municipalities receive the same requests. So there are efficiencies that we get from us because we've already written a response letter, and unless there's something unique about your borough compared to others, it's pretty much, we just change the names and send them out. So, but this policy will help us manage all of these issues a little bit better moving forward.
So if we get one of those ones that blankets all the communities, would we be able to deny that, or would we still respond with something, or what would happen?
Yeah, usually, we've been recommending a denial out of the gate because they don't typically appeal. And if they would appeal, then we can work on a response of some sort at that point. Because they have so many going on, it's very hard for them to monitor them all and respond, et cetera. That whatever they get, they're excited to get, and then they sell it to somebody else. So if they get 60%, great. If they get 10%, great. They're just happy to get something.
And they can sell that information too? Okay.
That's what they do. Yep. We get the same ones often every year.
In the resolution, there's a section that references fees, and that any fees for the right to knows are borne by the requester. How does that process work? And being that we had quite a lot of legal expenses.
Just for copies.
Right,
For
so the
copies.
fees are set by, the limits on how much we can charge is set by the state.
Mhm.
And those are only if we provided a CD or a flash drive with that information on them, or if we provided printed copies, then we have to pay per copy. But an email with all the information is free. And you're in fact not allowed to charge for that according to the state law.
Does the total amount that you referenced, Jim, is that after any fees that
No fees
There were
on
no
any of
fees,
these
okay.
because nobody requests paper
Got it.
copies anymore. Nobody requests CDs. Everybody gets everything digital now.
Got it. Okay.
So
Thank you.
that's the way it
Those
goes.
situations, they were provided as a PDF attached to an email, or if for the large one, for Mr. Sheets, they could be downloaded from a file sharing service.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions?
So with that, if there's no other questions, I'd like a motion like a motion to adopt resolution 2025-01, revising the policy containing procedures for the request and review of public records pursuant to and in accordance with Pennsylvania right to know law.
So moved.
Mr. Chandler,
Second.
Mr. Hope. Any questions or further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay.
Okay, motion passes.
All right, moving on to my next item. Is an update on the website. We are moving the website. It actually might be ready by tomorrow for council review. So I'll be sending that to everybody, and then I will hopefully please look at it as much critical eye as possible. We can actually, any of the forms and all of that, please test those functions so that we know that that works, because we're integrating several things here. And we want to make sure all that works. So it'll probably be a month or so of testing before we put it out. Because we are having to switch to a .gov account too. So that's going to change emails and change lots of things.
Can you give a little history of what's maybe where we were with the website? And maybe Ms. Perry can contribute a little bit too from the past, and where we're going now with this, because this has been a public comments around the need for a new and easier website.
Yeah, so really the goal is to make it so that most of the paper forms and things that you have to do now in person, that we can have them all digitized so that you can, if you want to get or if you want to rent a pavilion, you can hop right on our site. Oh, which pavilion's free? Boom, that pavilion's free. I can log in and sign up for a pavilion, as opposed to having to wait for office hours to call the office and do that work. And we're generally just providing more information and making it easier to do things. I don't know if there was something specific you were.
The history of the website, like from when was it put in place, the current website, and why is it, and maybe Mr. Hof too can talk a little bit, why is it not effective now for us going forward?
Okay, so it was put in place at least 5 years ago, and it was done on a volunteer basis, because the provider before was no longer being responsive and nobody at the borough had access. So there was some volunteer help to set up the new one and then work to give access. And so the things like the digital forms and that's a lot of policy and procedures. And we're elected to move to another platform that makes that you're going to have an outside vendor that's going to take care of it, as opposed to being administered internally now.
Yeah, it's actually, it's a website that's designed for municipalities. So it's relatively simple format, but has a lot of tools and whatnot that are good for municipal governments. Yep.
In general, while the site does function, it does not adhere to a lot of website design best practices anymore. Probably did when it was developed. Times change, things change. So in terms of functionality, definitely in need of a refresh in terms of being able to navigate it easily, find the things that we need to find it, as well as it was very obviously designed for desktop friendly first and foremost, and not mobile. And I think the majority of the traffic that goes to it is probably on some type of a tablet or mobile device now rather than desktop. So putting that first and foremost and designing something like that is
very
important.
true.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
true.
and this is, and the other nice thing is this is a very cheap solution. It is, I don't even think it might be, I don't want to say it because I don't remember the number, but it's a very low, it's not a very expensive website. So that is also a nice feature of this. It's not going to cost the borough a lot of money to do so. So I have some other updates too that I want to mention. I want to give an update on 11 Fountain Street. I know we have been working on getting in there to get a administrative search warrant. So we have now the code officer has sent all the information to our solicitor, and they are working on producing an administrative search warrant so that we can get the process moving on looking at and rehabbing 11 Fountain Street, whether it's we that do it or a resident that is interested in doing it does it. But we are moving forward on that. And so that should be moving in the next couple of weeks. towards that administrative search warrant. Another note, I am missing the next meeting. I will not be here. I will be on vacation. So I wanted to make sure everybody knew about that in case you did not already. And other exciting news, we are having a new house that is going in on Ewing Road. Or well, at least they're starting the process. It's not been approved yet, obviously. But it's interesting. It's going to be nice because this is going to show very clearly how onerous a subdivision process goes. This process started in April of last year, and they are just now getting to the point where they're going to be able to do a subdivision because they are actually their parents own both lots, and they are going to move the line slightly. They're in the conservation district, and they're going to move one of the lines slightly. They're very big lots, so they're not encroaching on any of the regulations that we have, but it'll illustrate in a very public way, because they're going to have to go to several public meetings to get this approved. And they also have to get approved by the county. They have to get approved by engineers, but how onerous this process is to just make a simple lot line revision. But it's also great because we're getting new residents in a new house. So, on Ewing Road, assuming that it all passes. Another exciting news, we had a discussion from a new business today that is looking to do work in the central business district. They're looking to open an event space. And currently the code is pretty onerous. Again, this is a great way to illustrate how the new code will be easier to get things done. Right now, they're required to go through a very public process again, a conditional use, where for an event space, which is in the central business district, which is where that type of business should go. In the future, we're hoping to get it to where it's easier to get that work, and they don't have to go through an elaborate public process to get something as simple as an event space approved in a business district. So those are two things that are moving forward. And I also want to note that regarding the zoning code has been posted on the website, the updated one with the changed language based on the conversations from the planning commission. So that is on the website now. We still don't have the comparison docs ready, but those will be ready. Soon. And then on the last thing on the list, and this is something that I had meant to put on as an item on the agenda. So I apologize to Mr. Sheets. This was a request from Cody Sheets. He met with our Community and Economic Development Director, Mike Tedesco, and asked that the borough consider switching Duncan Street between Maxwell and Ingram. It is currently a one-way street. And he would like us to consider changing it to a two-way street. And I will say that it's funny that was requested, because earlier in the year I had made a similar conversation with somebody else, because Duncan Street is a very wide street. It is a street that could very easily handle two-way traffic. It has more than a 40-foot cartway, meaning that you can have parking on both sides of the street and still have large 10-foot lanes. I'm not entirely sure at what point it ever switched to a one-way, and I'd love to hear if a community member knows why it switched to a one-way street at any point. We'd love to understand that better, so that we're not making a decision that's going to cause a bunch of people to be upset. But I just want to report that is a request that's being asked. Obviously, we can't make any decisions on it tonight, or because we didn't put it on the agenda. But also, we would probably want to go through engineering committee to consider what traffic implications that is, and we'd probably put a notice out to everybody who's on the street, at least because I'd like to understand why it is the way it is currently, before we make any decision to change it. But I wanted to inform everybody that request has been made. And that we're going to start the process of figuring out how to accommodate that crest if we can.
I'm sorry, one more time. What was the street in the section of the street?
It's the section of Duncan that is right before you hit Ingram Avenue. So if you come out of the shopping center, I don't think you're able to go down Maxwell that way. I think Maxwell is one way the other way. But if you were, it's basically from Maxwell to Ingram Avenue. It's just that one block from Maxwell to Ingram Avenue. But
from Maxwell to Ingram Avenue.
I would also maybe like to propose that we consider switching the entire thing to a two-way street. it is not really designed as a one-way street. One-way streets typically would only have a 10 or 12-foot cartway. This has, with parking, this has a 25-foot a 25-foot cartway, so it's easily adaptable for a two-way street. But I don't know, I don't know what I don't know, so I don't know why it was ever designed to be a one-way street in the first place.
So is Maxwell, all of Maxwell, Crafton?
No.
No.
No,
So then is this
Maxwell is in
something-
Ingram. Maxwell is in Ingram,
Okay.
but this street is entirely in Crafton.
Okay,
The entirety of the street, the two houses away from that street is where Ingram kind of dips into
right.
and starts to go into Maxwell, but the entirety of Duncan is in Crafton. It actually changes names. I forget what it's called.
Goes to North Dwayne.
Dwayne, right. It changes to North Dwayne when you get into Ingram.
Mhm.
So it's when you're turning off of Steuben onto Duncan, which is two ways, then you can go straight, but you cannot come down that little hill.
Correct. No, it's not two-way off of Duncan. Duncan is
Oh, that's
one
right,
way
'cause
all
it's
the
one
way.
way the
One way all
whole
the
way.
way.
In one way.
So
the
we're
whole way.
saying to make it two ways,
At least in that portion that's being
a
requested.
little portion down the hill. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
That's always been that, I mean, for 20, 30.
It's been that way
Like,
for a
it's
long
been
time.
that
I
way,
think the
know.
chief told me that it's been that way since before he was
Yeah.
here. He was
Uh-huh.
not, because I asked the
Oh.
chief,
Oh.
who's been with the borough
Before the
for
chief was here.
40
Oh, geez.
Yeah, 40 some years.
Yeah, and he has never, as far as he knows, it's always been one way.
Mhm.
So I don't know, but it most likely was not originally one way. So I don't know what occurred to change that.
So
But-
people can pull out of there, they just can't pull in at all.
Correct.
That's,
Off of Ingram Ave.
okay. See, so it seems more dangerous to pull out onto there than to pull in. Actually, if it was for a safety issue or something.
Yeah, well, on that side, but maybe on the other side was part of the issue. Maybe that was the issue on the Steuben side. I'm not aware.
What are the next steps at this point?
We'll take it to the infrastructure committee.
Great.
I think it makes sense for, you're on the infrastructure.
Yes.
committee, correct? Yeah, I think it makes sense for them to discuss it and if if there's a traffic consideration that we need to do. It might be that we decide in that committee to do a survey or something to find, because I have no idea why it's one way, but I'm guessing there's a reason. And and I don't want to find out the hard way. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and with that concludes my report.
Kirsten has a hand up. I don't know if it was related to your report.
Oh, sorry, Kirsten, do you want to go ahead? I don't know if you have to unmute.
Thanks. I had a question related to the website.
Yes,
I know that one of the things we had been discussing updating is also going to a .gov website because of the security concerns that, municipal websites and other such websites have been more frequently targeted by hacking and also just municipal information. We have the opportunity to use a .gov. Is that a part of this website update, or will that be a future? Is that part of the update that we're doing at this time, switching to a .gov account?
yes, we, last year we secured, craftonborough.gov. And it's nice, and we were able to do that. Most boroughs and municipalities have to say craftonboroughpa.gov. We didn't have to do that because we are the only Crafton registered as a United States municipality in the country. So we will get a .gov account, and we already have a .gov account. We just have not activated it yet. So that will be part of it. Yes, thanks for asking.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Price. Now we'll go to the committee reports. The first is Finance Administration and Sustainability. Mr. Ho.
Well, first off, thank you. Looking forward to heading up the Finance Administration and Sustainability Committee. Also, thanks to Mayor Perry for doing such a great job in kind of helping me get my legs underneath me last year and kind of understand it a lot better. And to Mr. Rodella for also being on the committee with us as well. Looking forward to it. Don't have much to report now other than we'll be meeting for the first time next week, and we're going to look at 2024's budget to actuals number and kind of see where we ended up in terms of everything. Mr. Price had done a nice job throughout the entire year of kind of updating numbers as we went and keeping eyes on numbers and where things were. So I don't expect anything should be too much of a surprise, and we'll probably land about where we thought we would, but that's what we'll be doing first. And at the next meeting, I'll be able to report hopefully on where we ended up financially. That's all I have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Infrastructure and land use, Ms. Compitello.
Sure, thank you. The Infrastructure and Land Use Committee has not met yet for January. Our meetings are typically the second week, so we should be meeting next week. So with that, I don't have a survey update related to Linwood and Noble Parks yet. But if there is an update that will be shared with the committee next week, that the engineer is ready to share, I do not have an update to share unless there's some from the borough side.
You have anything?
No, I reached out to the surveyor to see what his progress was, but still have not heard anything back yet.
All right, well, that is all for me for today.
Thank you. Planning Commission, Mr. Novello.
All right, so we met last month. We have a independent counsel who helped guide some of our decisions. But like Jim said, the most up-to-date draft is on the website, so please check it out. If you have any thoughts, questions, concerns, our next meeting is January 21st at 6:30 in this room. And there will be further discussions, forums, and meetings that are planned as needed before this revised draft is prepared for community review.
I'm sorry, I think that date is incorrect. I thought you guys meet on the 4th Tuesday of the month. And so I apologize if that date is incorrect. I don't want,
Oh, yeah, what the heck?
I know.
Yeah.
4 hours away.
It's so spoiled. 21st is the second or the
the
third
third,
Tuesday.
yeah, it is the 28th. And so I'll make sure that we put a savvy notice out too. But it is the 28th is the next meeting. And I will confirm that with the code or like with the other information that we have, but I'm 99% sure it's the 28th.
Okay, yeah, it says it on Savvy is 28th.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry for the incorrect.
So Jim lied to all of us.
I did.
So it's the 28th at 6:30.
Missed that edit.
That's all I have.
I missed that, I guess, when I reviewed it. Communication and recreation, Ms. Bollenbacher.
Some upcoming community events on Sunday, January 19th from 1 to 4. We are going to have a native plant seed workshop. We have one of our local community members who's going to come and talk a little bit about how you can sow some wild native seeds in your gardens this year. It is free to community members and it'll be held in the community center right over here. Again, that's Sunday the 19th from 1 to 4. On Friday, Valentine's Day, February 14th from 6 to 9, we are going to have our murder mystery event. It's called Till Death Do Us Part. So all the attendees will work together to solve a hopefully fictitious murder. It is $25 per person. It is $25 per person. If you are 65 or older, it's $20, and that cost is your ticket in as well as hors d'oeuvres. If you make an additional $5 donation, you can make it BYOB. If you're interested in purchasing tickets, please go to the Borough website. You can purchase tickets there. I would also like this year start something a little bit different. I'd like to start featuring some ongoing community events. I haven't really done that in the past. So I think that would be a good thing because we'd really like to get community involved. So some ongoing community events that are going on right now are, let's see, every Monday night at 6:30 in the library, we have yoga. It is $5 a class. You can drop in anytime. Let me see.
At 7 o'clock.
Oh, did it change to 7?
I think it's
Oh,
7,
then
or is it
please-
6:30?
okay.
But you can't drop in at any time because you have to be there at the start. Or
I mean, you don't have to sign up.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
You can drop in for
Yeah.
class.
I think it's 6:30, but I'll double check.
I have to think it's 6:30.
Don't drop in after.
Let me see, every Tuesday at 11 a.m. we have story time at the library with Miss Gabrielle. She tells stories and sings songs. The last Wednesday of every month from 5 to 6, Crafton actually has a book club. So you can come and talk about this month's current pick while picking up next month's. I do believe they consider it a no strings book club, so you can come and go as you please. You know, if you come in, you don't always have to come. They're not gonna, kick you out or anything like that. The second Thursday of every month, they have a card making workshop, and that's from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So they teach you different techniques so you can make your own greeting cards and things like that. And lastly, on the second Friday of every month, they have a cookbook book club. It's called The Dinner. So what you do is you drop into the library and they will let you know what the book is that they're featuring. You get to choose a recipe from that book. You make the recipe, show up that second Friday between 6 and 8. Everybody eats the food and talks about the food. So if you're interested in any of that, you can get more details on the Borough website. It's on the calendar. You just click on the event and you can get whatever information you'd like. As always, the rec board is always looking for volunteers. We don't have anything coming up right now that requires volunteers, but they like to keep a list of people that they can just kind of contact to see if you're available. So if you're interested in giving us, a couple hours this year, maybe as a New Year's resolution, please go to the website and send them an email. The last thing I need to talk about is our newsletter. Anybody who is submitting articles for the newsletter, we need to have your article by January 10th. That's it.
Thank you. So we did rename the vacancy committee to the board commissions recruiting committee. We do have a vacancy committee that's more for appointing council members.
That's a vacancy board.
And the name was just confusing, so we changed this. Ms. Polkownik.
Thank you,
all you.
thank you. Aaron, I did confirm, Aaron, you're correct. It's 6:30 is yoga.
Thank you.
So there you go. Okay. All right, wonderful. Happy New Year, everybody. At the end of last year, we had some moves on our zoning hearing board, and we missed out the opportunity to ask for this motion. So we're starting the new year off with that. So I'm looking for a motion to appoint Logan Drew to the zoning hearing board for a 3-year term expiring December 31st of 2027.
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Chandler,
Second.
Mr. Hove. Any questions or discussion? Mr. Drew was on the zoning hearing board, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so he is currently on, so this would be a reappointment.
Yes. So like I said, there was just to clarify with the group, and there were some reappointments and some moves around, and that created Logan's position was available. He re-interviewed, and we'd like to make that motion.
Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you. So I'm looking at my dates ahead. So with that appointment of Logan, that makes the zoning here board full and complete.
For the alternates.
Yes.
Yeah, so the alternate.
So we do have some current open positions coming down the road. Actually, they're right now, sorry, I'm reading that like it's still 2024. But we do have some open positions. So if anyone is interested in any of these, I encourage you to go to our website, craftonborough.com/commissions, read what's involved in each one of these, and please feel free to apply. We'll have our Civil Service Commission is looking for an alternate. I believe 2 alternates. Those are 6-year terms. Zoning Hearing Board is a 3-year term.
That's the filled one.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
just filled. so,
yes.
yeah.
Sorry, I don't know why it was there for appointing. And then the Zoning Hearing Board alternate, again, with those moves that we made, opened up an alternate seat. So if anyone's interested in that. And then at the end of 2024, we had 2 positions on our rec board open up. So 2 folks decided to resign from those roles, which opened up their 2 full-time seats for their 4-year terms. Those would expire. One's on December 31st, 2027, and the other is on February 28th, 2026. So the description for each one of those boards is on the website. Please take a look. If you know anyone who might be interested, encourage them. The process for any of these is an interview with the committee's board chairperson, as well as myself, just to kind of answer any questions and do usually is no more than a 20-minute interview. So pretty straightforward. So encourage folks, please apply. Like still Aaron's line, new year, new you. If you want to be involved, it'd be great. And then further along down the road, we have some upcoming positions that will be expiring into February, March. So just more coming down the road. So I just encourage all of you to keep looking on our website, check Savvy Citizen, our Facebook page, all of it will be posted there. Done.
Thank you, Ms. Kokanik. COG. Ms. Bombacher.
Just need to let you know, the next meeting is next Thursday at 6:30. It's at Carnody's again in Neville, if anybody would like to join me.
Great. The announcements, our next council meeting is 2 weeks from today, January 23rd at 7 o'clock. The Valentine's Day Murder Mystery Community Dinner is at the library, which Ms. Bollenbacher had talked about on Valentine's Day at 6. And do they have to dress up? Do people dress? No.
It's Valentine's
Whatever.
Day.
Okay.
Just,
Yeah.
but It's not required.
I think we were just encouraging, festive Valentine's. It is a wedding, so
Oh, okay.
feel free to wear
Okay.
a bridesmaid's
Wedding
dress, come in costume, whatever you prefer. But yes, festive is a good way of saying it.
Okay.
Wedding dress, you could be the bride. I don't know.
And it's not for couples only, it can be anybody.
You can be whatever you want to be, just we would love for you to be there.
You just
Yes.
have to be an adult.
Yes, you have to be an adult
Oh, over 21, right?
and buy your ticket.
And buy the ticket. Okay. Good deal. And the native plant seed sowing event, which is on January 19th, from 1 to 4. And that is, in next door here. And it's free for Crafton residents. All right, any other community announcements?
I have two brief ones. I just found out today, slightly too late, but today, January 9th, is actually Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. So I just wanted to say thank you to our Crafton Police Department officers for everything they do. Obviously, you shouldn't have to have a special day to thank them, but today's the special day. So and also Christmas trees, live Christmas trees, if you need to get rid of them, they're not technically live anymore, but they're harder to dispose of than they are to bring home because they're usually unwrapped at this point. But behind the stage in Crafton Park, you can drop them off back there, and Public Works, they mulch them, correct?
They do, they
Recycle
chip them, yep.
Yeah, I dropped mine off the other day. There was only like 2 down there, so they're obviously keeping up with it, or not a lot of people are doing it. So and also if you need help hauling one out, hit me up or something. I'll throw it in the back of my truck and take it down sometime. I like hauling trees.
Great. All right, very good. With that, public comment at this time. Citizens may address the Crafton Borough Council on any issue. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address the council. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Council has the option to respond or not at the end of the address. The solicitor is again the assigned timekeeper, and please state your name and physical address for the record.
There's Cody's online. Yep.
Okay, well, we should always start here.
Okay.
Is anybody here? Yeah. Oh, wait. Go ahead.
Hi, Corey Roma, West Steuben Street. I just wanted to kind of like build off of the request to turn Duncan into a two-way. So I live down on West Steuben Street and our apartments kind of like have parking on the back of Maxwell. And if we do turn Duncan into a two-way, the only thing that I would kind of want to suggest is when it intersects with Maxwell, if you could put a stop sign there, because people who are coming from Steuben Street towards Ingram Avenue kind of fly, and when cars are parked on both sides, you kind of can't. If you're coming from Maxwell Street heading towards Giant Eagle, you can't really see to the right very well. So I just kind of wanted to, since I live in that area, throw that idea out there if we do consider that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roma. Ben.
Ben Belmont at 270 West Steuben Street. I did want to bring up an issue that has been affecting my apartment building. There is actually.
We live right next to each other.
There is a small alley off Ingram Street going into the right behind 270 West Steuben Street. It's how people get into the back parking garage, and it has like horrible potholes. And I tried to contact my landlord. He said that I think they think that you got
That we own it.
And I just wanted to bring it up. It's in between the intersection where Steuben and all this streets with Ingram happens, and on Ingram and Duncan Street. So closer to. The big intersection.
It's right, like the way to get to it is like right before those houses, the first houses on Ingram Avenue, I think. It's like in between that, so it's almost right next to that cluster intersection.
Yeah, I know where the street is. I'm not entirely sure if we own it, so I will double check that. I'm not sure if that street is privately owned by the apartment owner or not. And but we'll figure that out and let you know what we can do about it. I'm not aware that that's ours or not, so we will let you know as soon as I look into it.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up so that.
Yep.
If you guys own it, you picked it.
Yep.
Safe.
Yep. Sounds good.
Thank you, Mr. Belmont. Anybody else? Oh.
Okay.
Borough, East Crafton Avenue. I have two questions going back to the right to know resolutions. My first question is, how did you arrive at $41,000? Because when I do the math, that equals to over $2,100, almost $2,200 per right to know if Cody Sheets did 19 of them. So if you can kind of break that down, like how do you come up with that number? Also, with this new resolution, should someone like Cody or any one of us ask for a right to know, as I'll use Cody an example, as Cody did those 19 times, would they be considered asleep and passed over? And I also wanted to make a comment about the transparency. You had said that it was a lot of stuff in those. I actually helped Cody on one occasion go through some of them for him, because you say it's transparency. On my end, the first time having any experience with that, it just seemed like I was bogged down with paperwork, because it was the same email coming from 5, 6, 7, 8 different people. So just so you understand that your perspective is transparency, this perspective, and this is only my one time doing it, it seemed like it's just bogged down. So I just wanted to make that. And if you can just break down the cost per right to know, how does the right to know cost almost $2,200?
Well, we don't have to respond to your question, but I can, so first, he did not make 19 requests. That was Osiris who has made 19 requests. That was and so each of those requests, there was a lot of back and forth, because we were not going to respond to requests that were phishing, which is what he was trying to do. He was trying to he's trying to catch us and stuff. He's retaliatory. This is him responding because we didn't give him a contract on something which he did not earn. And Cody's cost so much money because he asked for every email that had a specific word in it over the course of 2 years. And that returned some 13,000 emails. And the cost of those 13,000 emails was, we are legally required to redact any email addresses, any well, Steve can talk about more specifically, but so we had to pay a law firm to go through and review and redact 13,000 emails. And that, when I say transparency, instead of asking him to be more specific about his request, which was typically how you would respond to a request like that, we responded with every piece of information that he specifically asked for, which is legally not required of us. We're not required to do that. That's typically considered a phishing request. And so that was we were trying to be transparent. You want all these emails, we will give you all these emails. And we did, but we still had to redact them because we're legally required to redact them. And that's where the expense comes in. At first, we were going to have attorneys actually do that work, and we were able to get and it would have been much more expensive had that happened. But if you want to talk about how the process worked on your end and why it still ended up being a significant cost.
Yeah, so we used a company called Solver Technologies, and they have individuals that do document review for law firms. And they did it at rates that are much lower than what attorney rates would be. So we saved the borough money in that regard. In addition, it was because of the volume of work, there's no way that I could have singularly done it or another person. We would have been engaged for a couple consecutive weeks because you have to read the document. You have to make sure there's no information that needs redacted. As Jim mentioned, there are privacy rights that folks have under the right to know law. That if it's not a borough email that is public, if it's from a third party, et cetera, those all have to be redacted as well as their phone numbers. And there's other information that could be in there that needs to be redacted. So every page has to be reviewed to determine whether there's a redaction that needs to be made. So it's a very long and drawn out process. The request was for any emails from and listed every member of council, members of the administration, et cetera, from them to anybody on any topic, including certain topics, mostly certain topics, if I remember correctly. And that's what we disclosed, right? We gave Mr. Sheets exactly what he asked for. So what that is, and in my view, that is the definition of transparency. Every email that was sent was provided that was responsive to the request, whether you had to look through a bunch that were the same or not, like it's still responsive to this. And so we gave you everything you asked for. In the future, and this was the council's decision to do it this way, but in the future, what we typically advise is that municipalities ask for clarification. And if the clarification comes, then we work with the requester and try to narrow the request. Because the right to know office, open records office in Harrisburg and the courts, they do not allow the right to know law to be used as a fishing expedition is what they call it. If you have something you're looking for, you can ask for it with specificity. But if you just ask for what I would call a discovery request in litigation, where you're asking for, reams of documents, that's not what it's for. There are other methods to get the information. If there's a concern, you can use subpoenas, et cetera, if there's a lawsuit. So in the future, I think that we will be asking for clarification, and if there is none where it's still not clear enough, we will assert that it's a fishing expedition and let the Open Records Office take a look at it. And if they tell us we have to spend that money to pull over 10,000 emails initially, or 10 pages, I think it wasn't quite 10,000 emails, it's the pages of documents. That's what we'll do, but that's what council did this time. They wanted to be open and transparent, given the temperature of everything at that point in time, and I can't blame them for that. And that's exactly what we did.
And I want to add one thing. The way that we just pull those emails, we also had to include our IT company, because we have an outside IT company, and they go in. None of these people get to choose what emails are getting selected. They go into our server, and whether you've deleted an email or tried to put it in a folder and hide it, you can't. It's all controlled and pulled from our servers. And like I said, any email that I've deleted, anything would show up on this report. So there's no way done that way. There's absolutely no way to not have the email, because it's done, but we didn't even, no one in the borough had any control or access over it. The IT person worked with the law firm, and they pulled everything from our servers.
We provided them with the request, with the email addresses, with the words that Mr. Sheets used, and those were searched and pulled, and the raw data was uploaded to our file sharing service at our office, and then we started to review. And Mr. Sheets was very accommodating. I mean, we asked for an extension of time in order to do it, because it did take a little bit of time to work with the borough's vendor, to get the documents. And then to actually review them took a few weeks for people working full time for several weeks.
So what would an average cost that is not efficient?
Yeah, because we want to be fair.
It depends. I mean, it really depends. a typical right to know request where it's, hey, can I get a copy of the budget? Can I get a copy of that ordinance or the application for conditional use, et cetera, like that? That's an easy one. That doesn't probably cost anything from a lawyer perspective, because Jim could do it, or even if we had to look at something, it would be, you know, 100 to 150, probably, if that. And if it's asking for a lot, even if it's specific enough, like it's just a matter of time. We still have to redact the documents, et cetera. So it just depends. It can be from 0 to 40,000 for a request that's phishing. So, or more. I mean, we have other clients that have spent 6 figures on these kind of requests, big authorities in the county, et cetera, and elsewhere. So it's a problem. I know Harrisburg is looking at it. So maybe there'll be changes in the future.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I have 2 quick things.
Great,
One
great,
is,
names.
Greg White, yeah. All right.
We know.
2 quick things. One is, when will the notification of the new zoning code be put on Savvy Citizen? Savvy Citizen is probably one of the main places to get your information, and it's not on there. So
Good question. I'll talk to Mike tomorrow. We'll make sure we get it up tomorrow. Yep.
Let him.
So, and then, the other thing is that, the, resolution, for the, right to knows, can you please put that resolution to the public, like?
It will be posted
days
on the
ahead of
website.
time Before you make a motion and have a vote. We don't get to see any of this. And you say it's on your OneDrive and you all get to look at it. But we're sitting here in the dark, not knowing what's going on. So is there a way that you guys can please start putting this information to the public well ahead of time, so we can come to these meetings already educated?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So let's address both the Savvy Citizen. That's on the Savvy Citizen site, because it's on our website now.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, so we'll get that.
And I think part of it was they were waiting for the other documents before they announced it, but I can make sure, but this is a longer document, so I'll make sure that they get it posted. I'm not sure why he didn't put it on Savvy and Facebook.
And then I guess generally it's the right to know, but resolutions, ordinances, can we attach those to the agenda so that the public can look at those beforehand?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. So we can have that posted on the Tuesday before the meeting as well. Yep.
Okay. So any comments from council relative to doing that?
I think that's a good idea. Other communities do that. I think it's a good change.
So we don't need a motion or anything for that.
No, I mean, from ordinance perspective, those should already be advertised in such a way that they're available, right?
the
It's
ordinance,
resolutions do not require legal notice or advertisement, so that's why they aren't typically attached, because most of the resolutions are just they're not legislative in nature, so it's approving an application for a grant or things of that nature, so.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Anybody else? Let's hear. Online, just raise your hand if you have a question. Mr. Sheets.
Everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I just had I have 3 things to say real quick about the RTAs, or the RTKs. The emails that I was given weren't completely redacted. So the money that we spent on that, I have more than a dozen third-party emails. So the company that was used for that should probably be rethought in the future. And I think that this whole scenario with the right to know request is a lesson for both council and citizens about specificity and how to prevent 7,000 to 10,000 documents being sent for one. But I do appreciate, council, trying to work with me on that. Wanted to say one more thing, just in particular to council. and the administration. I've been incredibly critical over the last 6 months of many decisions. And, however, I need to express my gratitude for council hearing residents and for not banging a gavel at exactly 3 minutes. And I have a huge amount of respect and appreciation for that for all of you, despite how contentious things may have been between myself and council or residents and council. I think you need applauded for passing a balanced budget without a tax increase again for this year. I applaud you for slowing the zoning process down. I think that you handled that in the best way you possibly could. And I'm not trying to brown nose either. This is, I legitimately feel this way. I've never been treated with discontent by any council member, despite my efforts. And I think it's a pivotal difference from previous councils and the one that's sitting at this table right now. So I just want to express my respect and gratitude for all of you for the way that you've dealt with everything over the last 6 months. The last thing I'd like to talk about is what Jim had mentioned about the intersection of Ingram Avenue and Duncan Avenue. I don't know if this is possible, but I do have a map of the borough in front of me with the intersection we're talking about. Would it be possible to put me on video to show you guys this, or is that not okay?
We could just bring up the map ourselves. Could you search, Mike can search the map and just have it up so we could show you the same thing.
That'd be perfect. That'd be perfect.
I don't know, since it's on a webinar version of Zoom, I don't know that we can even have you share your screen. So
yeah, I understand. I can kind of explain as soon as you guys get the map up for me there. So if you go to the intersection and kind of stay over Duncan as well as Maxwell Street, where I'm sorry, I'll wait until you get there, Mike. You let me know when you're ready.
Cody, can you see it?
not yet. He's not
Oh,
sharing it.
I can't see it, but I have my own map in front of me, so I can explain as you guys can see it. So basically, essentially, Ingram has come up with a. I can see it now. Okay, perfect. So Ingram has where South Linshaw meets Maxwell Street on the west side. Ingram has passed a new ordinance that prevents parking in front of my building. And so basically it's just kind of limited access to my business. And there we go. Yeah. So right up here where Ingram Avenue meets Duncan Avenue is where that do not enter sign is. And I'm the only way to access parking. I am in this picture, I am the very last building on the on the left-hand side of Maxwell Street. And that's my driveway right there. The only way to get to my driveway is through Crafton, even though my building is in Ingram. And I'm having issues with people that have Dr. Sakai is a good example. Dr. Sakai has some nerve issues that prevent him from walking very far without needing to take a break. And, initially when he was coming to my building, he had trouble being able to get to my driveway because he came from Steuben Street, figured out he couldn't go down the one way at Maxwell, went back up Linshaw, turned left onto Ingram, and then figured out he couldn't turn on to Duncan either. And I need my clients to, like him, to be able to park in my driveway and have easy accessibility to that. So I totally agree with the gentleman that requested that there be a stop sign at the corner of Maxwell and Duncan coming down from Ingram Avenue. I think that even if it's not changed from a two-way or from a one-way to a two-way on the entire street, that's probably still a good idea so that people driving down see do not enter signs in front of them and don't go flying through them. But, just kind of requesting this so that there's more accessibility to my building. And, if that's possible, that's great. But just kind of wanted to give you guys an idea of exactly how this looks. And, since my building isn't legally accessible for parking in Ingram, I'm just asking Crafton for some leeway here to be able to, allow my clients, particularly like Dr. Sakai, to be able to come in there and park where they need without having any trouble with handicap issues. And that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Sheets.
I'm still disappointed, though, that you opened that in Ingram and not Crafton.
Well, hey, it's right on the line. So you know, if I could have been in Crafton, I would have been, but you know, it ended up being, maybe in your rezoning, you can convince Sam Nucci to give you that address.
It's hard to move a
property line. It's even harder to move a border.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting border because the ball field is majority Crafton, but a small portion Ingram, and then half of the houses, or maybe 75% of the houses on both sides are in Ingram. But some are in Crafton, like certain houses are in Crafton on those streets. It's a strange border, but the essence of it is the area from Duncan up to Ingram Avenue, Maxwell, I think, on Duncan to Ingram Avenue. Okay. All right, and the action item is to look into what we have to do for that. Okay. All right, anybody else online, please raise your hand. Adam Earhart?
Hey, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Adam Earhart, South Emily Street. I was curious, basically, my day job is cybersecurity. So when you talked about moving to a different website vendor, my ears perked up. I was curious if there has been any security review or any security attestations received, any certifications from the new website vendor, really anything to show what security controls they have in place to protect the borough's data, or if they have any evidence of recent penetration testing or anything along those lines. Because again, to the point where you're going to a .gov domain, that does make you a larger target for someone trying to get into your information. So I was basically curious what they've provided and if that's been reviewed.
We have not done that on the website. We have done that with our internal systems, and we regularly have penetration tests done on our systems. But we have not done that as in terms of the website, but we can definitely look into that. And that's a really good note that I frankly was not aware that we should do that. So I appreciate the comment. And I don't know how I could get your information, but I wouldn't mind having. Oh, great. So I would, we will get with you, and I would love to find out more to make sure that we're not missing something that we should be paying attention to. Thank you for the comment.
Great. Anyone else online? Seeing none, it is 8:18. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your time.